When we talk about type 1 diabetes, the focus is almost always on the person with the diagnosis, the numbers, the tech, the highs and lows. But the truth is, T1D never moves in alone. It impacts siblings, parents, routines, sleep, mental load, all of it.
This is not a poor us episode. It's a this is real and you're not the only one navigating it episode. Whether you're a parent, a sibling, a spouse, a grandparent, or the person with type 1 diabetes, we want you to feel seen during this episode. Before we dive into this episode, Janelle, how has this week been in the diabetes department for you guys?
Hot, wet trash, honestly.
You know what I always feel like? It's a weather shift thing. Do you ever feel like the weather affects Paxton's numbers?
To some degree, yes. I notice it more so on like really, really bad days. Like bad weather. I remember there was this like one really, really rainy day. Like I can't remember if it was like a tropical storm rolled through or whatnot, but Paxton's blood sugar was trash the entire day and there was no reasoning for it. Like we had like such a good week. He wasn't sick, wasn't, you know what I mean? Like nothing had changed. And then I'm like, oh, you know what? It's the weather.
Yeah.
That's the only other viable thing for me to blame, I suppose.
No, I totally believe it. Actually, we went to the beach one time in the fall and a tropical storm was rolling through and we had to leave the beach early because Well's blood sugar was so bad.
I remember
like
this.
We left the whole trip early. I could not keep him above 40. He would come up and go right back down, come up and go right back down, come up and go right back down. I had decreased his insulin to nearly 0. I thought for sure he was going to get a stomach bug or something. No, literally, we got home. His blood sugar was fine.
I remember this because I remember you saying that like, oh, all the kids are going to the aquarium today and like I can't take him because I can't keep him up.
Yeah, he like couldn't walk around. He was like going low over and over again. It was wild. I had to fight our DME supplier this week, so that's what I was dealing with. They told me that Wells infusion sets for his pump were on back order and that they couldn't ship them. And then I called and I was like, hey, these are back ordered, but like we obviously need something or I can't use this pump. Like I was just calling to see what my options were. And they were like, oh no, back ordered just means that they're coming from a different warehouse. I was like, yeah, that's actually not what backordered means.
Look it up.
That's actually not the definition of backordered. They were like, oh no, they're going to ship tomorrow. Like they're just coming from somewhere else. And they did ship them. They came to my house today.
Wild.
But that was the stupid I dealt with this week.
It's always something. Welcome to Raising Type 1, a podcast for parents navigating life with type 1 diabetes.
Honest conversations, shared experiences, and reminders that you don't have to do this alone.
Okay, so now we want to zoom in a little bit and talk about what this actually feels like for everyone involved.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like type 1 diabetes is definitely a, like, whole family, whole system disease. And I think the general public, or like just most people probably think that it really only impacts the person living with it.
Yeah.
And that makes sense that people would assume that. And I didn't realize until we were in it just how much it impacts pretty much everybody involved.
Yeah, it pretty much doesn't. I mean, it's like a tornado. It doesn't leave a single thing untouched.
Yeah. Especially in your immediate household.
Yeah.
Like your marriage, you know, both parents, obviously, any siblings involved. If you have grandparents involved that are like, you know, involved, like really involved, then it impacts them. Like it definitely just kind of sweeps through everybody in some way. Do you feel like it, after Paxton was diagnosed, it surprised you how much it impacted everybody in your household?
I think it took a while for me to kind of have this realization. Let it be because of survival mode or just like the pure focus that was on, you know what I mean? Learning the new diagnosis, whatnot. I think what I noticed the fastest was the toll that it took on my marriage.
Yeah, I have to agree with you.
I mean, when Pax was diagnosed, my daughter was only 17 months old.
Oh, yeah.
18 months old. So she, you know what I mean? Like, obviously, we were still dealing with, 18-month-old things with her, but she didn't have any semblance of what was going on yet.
Yeah.
So I think we kind of had that to our benefit. Like, she quite literally doesn't know anything different than her brother having type 1.
Right.
No different than he knows really any different.
Yeah. It's just been her whole life like
so
that.
I think the biggest change was to my marriage.
Yeah, I could see that for sure. My kids definitely got impacted right off the get-go because Wells is the youngest of 4, and he's like quite a bit, not, I wouldn't say quite a bit younger. So like right now, my oldest is 12, and then I have a 10-year-old, an 8-year-old, and Wells is 5, just to give you an idea of like my children's age gaps. And so they were very aware like that something was wrong when Wells was getting diagnosed with type 1 diabetes. In fact, I don't even know if I've ever told you this, but I checked Wells' blood sugar at home for the very first time, and it came back at almost 600. And I said out loud, "Oh my God, I knew it. He's diabetic. He's diabetic. He's got diabetes." And my kids obviously didn't know anything about diabetes at that time, and they thought I was saying he's dying. He's dying.
My God.
And they all panicked. They were like crying. They were freaking out. And that was one of the reasons why I took Wells to the hospital by myself when he was diagnosed, because we didn't want to leave my kids with like somebody else other than my husband, because they were all freaking out so badly because they thought I was saying that he was dying.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So unfortunately, like right off the bat, they got probably some trauma from that experience.
Just a little bit.
And they definitely are still impacted. Like the first probably year of Wells' diagnosis, my 3rd child was in kindergarten, and I was like friends with his kindergarten teacher, and she would tell me like he comes in every morning and tells us how Wells' blood sugar was the past night. Like he'll be like, Wells was low a lot last night, or Wells was high. Like he would ask me in the morning, and then he would report that to his kindergarten class at school.
He's such a sweet boy. I love him so much.
He has the most tender heart ever. But yeah, definitely impacted my kids straight off the bat. My, Wells' siblings. Well, I guess we'll segue into talking about siblings specifically. So I know Ember, your youngest daughter that does not have type 1 diabetes, was very young when Paxton was diagnosed, but what are some ways that you feel like she has been affected by Paxton's type 1 diagnosis?
I mean, I think the most prevalent ones would probably have to do with like food and activities. That's the easiest way that I can kind of scale it back just a little bit.
Yeah.
There are a lot of universal no's in this house.
Yes.
In an effort to help Paxton feel less alone.
Right. Of course. It's easier to say no to both than yes to one and no to one.
Exactly. And I think you've also kind of adopted that principle.
Oh, yeah. 100%.
Yeah. I think it's hard not to, because you know what I mean? The child that lives with the type 1 diabetes already has to be somewhat secluded for having the diabetes on its own.
There are just things that they're going to go through alone by nature of the fact that they're the one living with the disease.
Yes, I agree. So I think that would be my answer. It's easy to, say like, hey, we can't go get ice cream tonight as a family because Paxton's had a really bad blood sugar day.
Yeah.
And like, before anyone comes for me, I do not deprive my type 1 diabetic child of ice cream. Okay. We just do a very good job about picking the best times to indulge.
I don't think there's anything
treats.
wrong with that.
No, absolutely not. They're still a kid.
Yeah. There's a time and a place. And like, sometimes you have to pick your battles too.
Yeah.
Like sometimes you have to say like, no, we didn't sleep last night, and today has been a really rough day for X, Y, and Z reason. And tonight we all really need to sleep. So it's probably not a great idea for late night ice cream.
Agreed. And it's also like having kids with type 1 diabetes this young, like obviously a lot of them are hypo and hyper unaware, but you can't tell me that after spending 6+ hours higher than what they normally spend that they don't feel anything. I find that so hard to believe.
I definitely have touched on the nose before talking about my own kids, and I still feel like that is definitely very prevalent. And I also think I see a lot of fear that they don't really talk about. Like last night, Wells had a very, very severe low blood sugar of 30. It was terrifying. But my other kids were scared too. Like they asked me, they were kind of all surrounding me. They were like, is he okay? Is he low? What was his number? How low is he? Like they were very tuned into the fact that something was wrong. And I can only imagine how they feel in those moments of like, oh crap, mom is visibly shaken and nervous about something to do with my youngest brother. Like that's hard. And they don't ever, like, they didn't say in that moment, like, oh, we're scared, this is, you're scaring us, this is making us nervous. But I could read it on my kids that it was making them nervous, that I was scared about something.
Yeah. I think too, like, I feel like you have a lot more, I don't want to say experience in this subject, but Ember, my youngest, is still so very blissfully unaware of her environment. Like, this girl lives in her own world, and I love her for it, but she's not older. She doesn't really have an understanding of what's going on other than the literal fact of, my brother has type 1 diabetes.
Yeah.
I think your kids have probably, I don't want to say suffered because that's not the correct word, but have experienced more emotions when it comes to Wells's diagnosis than Ember has experienced for Paxton's.
Yeah. I also think probably just like you were saying, a difference of the fact that like Ember is the younger sibling and my kids are the older siblings. So there's already some level for them there of like protection of their younger sibling. Yeah. And I think that would have been their diabetes or not. And then you add this level of like, oh, sometimes he's not okay to it. And it just like adds another layer of like protectiveness about him. They all like, they baby him so much. I mean, we all kind of do because he's the youngest, and I think that kind of just comes naturally for the youngest child, especially of like a larger family. But they really do, like, they baby him so badly. They'll, there's a time there where Wells wanted to hold Jonah, my 10-year-old's hand, during every sight, but definitely in a way they've had to lose a little bit of their childhood innocence in watching somebody deal with a chronic illness too.
Yeah.
Like that's a reality that some people face, like, and it's really hard and not necessarily fair.
Yeah. What do you think, like, in whether it be in those moments or kind of like in the more quiet moments when they're able to kind of sit there and think about it, what do you think that they are thinking about that they're not saying out loud?
Probably that they're scared too. Yeah. Like, that's probably, I think, what they don't say out loud. I think they're empathetic enough to recognize that, like, it's not the time during those kind of scarier moments to say something out loud. Like, it's not the time. Like, they're dealing with, whatever medical issues going on with their sibling, and so they don't. But I think they probably are scared. Like, they check his blood sugar all the time. That I keep it on my CarPlay in my car, and they'll get in and be like, oh, Wells is, 180, like, uh-oh, they're like very kind of always conscious of it.
They're very tuned into it.
Yeah, they're very tuned into it. And so during the like rougher moments, I think they are probably scared.
That's valid.
And kind of sad. But I feel that because it scares me too.
Also valid.
So I understand.
Yeah.
Do you ever worry about like these things kind of following Ember into adulthood? Like, do you think it will shape her as a person?
I think it may. I think I would more be worried about her looking back and kind of feeling jealousy or resentment, or kind of like that she was somewhat robbed of her childhood too. Yeah. And it's funny because I feel like it could go one of two ways. So, like, for example, Tyler and I frequently refer to her as like the easy child. And this girl is not an easy child. But when it comes to, is she a medically complex child? The answer is no. There will be many instances where, like, my parents will take Pax for the weekend for a sleepover, and we'll keep Ember. And it's just so wild to kind of step out of that. And don't get me wrong, I am very much still in the diabetes mindset because I am constantly telling her what to dose for, what he can have, what he can't have, that type of deal. It's still very prevalent, but to be able to just throw some food on a plate for lunch and put it in front of the kid and not have to worry about how long they're waiting to eat, how much insulin I'm going to give, what are we going to do after this meal? Like, it is just like, to some degree, an out-of-body experience. Yes. I feel like when you live in the diabetes world 24/7. But it's the fact of that, like, to some degree, we do try to spoil her when she is by herself. Right. To give her those, you know what I mean, special moments and special time with us, just like Paxton would get, because I do have no other choice than to pour a lot of my daily attention into him. Yeah. So I think it could go either way. I do think eventually she will probably develop some sort of jealousy. There is a little bit of jealousy there now. Like when he gets, Smarties, she doesn't understand that it's not actually candy. It's to bring
medication.
Yeah, it's basically medicine. And that's, I try to frame it like that, but she, you know what I mean? She's 4. She doesn't understand that.
Right.
So I think, I don't know. It's going to be very interesting because I do think, going back to the fact of like, there's a very different dynamic even with just your family and my family.
Yeah.
When it comes to where those siblings lie on the chain of command, if you will.
Yeah, we kind of have both sides of the spectrum of like where our kids fall, and
I think there's already
and stuff like that.
I want to maybe go a step and say that there's probably maybe a little bit of resentment already residing within her. And I notice it when I will tell her no to something, and she knows that it's because Paxton can't have it. Yeah. And she will hit me with but I don't have diabetes. And I know that she means it in a harmless way. Yeah. But that's her way of telling me, like, you don't need to tell me no because I'm not him. Yeah. Aww. So that always, like, I get annoyed with it in the moment because I'm like, shut up, don't say that. Like, you can't just say that. Yeah. But I think, like, when I sit down and think about it, I'm like, shit.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's, like, inevitable for it to impact them in some way in their lives. Like, it's a big thing growing up with a sibling to have such a big, life-altering chronic illness. And I think in whatever way it may be, like, it will maybe not shape them into who they are, but certainly play some kind of role, even if it's just extended empathy, you know, for people going through chronic illness. But I think it's, like, kind of inevitable.
It is.
It's very in their face, and they're out of control of it. They just have to, like, watch it happen. So I think it's, like, unavoidable in a way, kind of. Oh, moving on to the juicy thing. Your relationship with your husband.
How much time we got?
Yeah, I think honestly probably could do a whole episode on this, and not even in a bad way.
No.
But this is, like, very, very real.
I think this is, it's the heaviest because it's also the person that you're sharing the care with.
Yes.
So it's, to some degree, you are spouses, but you're also coworkers.
Mm-hmm. And, like, this goes back to the loneliness thing for me, too, of feeling like the person that I'm supposed to be the closest with in life sometimes doesn't understand me.
Yes.
That is really tough for me. And, like, also just, I can be a little bit type A, and he's very not. It is. It's like they tell you, like, don't do business with
family or friends,
and then you're kind of forced to with type 1 diabetes. Like, you have to learn these, like, kind of odd things about your partner that you didn't necessarily have to work through with them prior to this. Who takes the workload? Who gets up in the middle of the night and deals with things? Who makes the decisions? Who gets the final say on decisions? Who takes the blame? You know, I use the term blame lightly, but, like, when a decision is made and it was the wrong decision, like, there's just these kind of little intricate, weird things that get brought up that don't in a normal relationship.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I think, too, a lot of those decisions are made without you even realizing them being made.
Oh, yeah.
So, like, if we rewind back to Pax's diagnosis, when we came home from the hospital, it was obviously we were both at the hospital with him, and, you know, we came home, we're both trying to figure out how the hell we're gonna live this new life. Mm-hmm. And I think one person just automatically kind of falls into that role of the main caretaker, the, you know what I mean, the pancreas,
for sure,
if you will. And for us, that was me. And I just kind of poured myself into learning all the things and everything like that. And, you know, to no fault of his own, you know, my husband Tyler kind of just took the backseat.
Yeah.
And that role, whether it be he was processing his own emotions about Pax's diagnosis or whatnot, that first year was primarily I was the main caretaker for Paxton.
Yeah.
And I think that did cause a lot of resentment. Around a year, I kind of hit I guess you would call it rock bottom when it comes to managing or being not the sole caretaker, the main caretaker of a child with type 1 diabetes. And I kind of had a mental breakdown, if you will, and kind of just went to him and said, hey, like I can't physically continue on doing this by myself anymore. Like, I need you to learn. I want to teach you. Like, let me get you involved. And that was kind of like the game changer for us.
Yeah.
But even then, like, I mean, nowadays, I think there's always struggles when it comes to like what support looks like from your partner versus like something like control. And I know control is something that we both struggle with.
For sure. Yes. This is like what I talked about with my therapist last week of like, we were talking about the fact that like obviously as a main role caretaker, like I need a break, and not just a break of like running to the grocery store, but I'm still getting alerts on my phone. Like I need to be able to disconnect somehow and like truly leave it in my husband's hands and like trust that he has it handled. If I completely separate myself and like maybe have a safeguard of like, okay, things aren't going great for 15 minutes, he calls me, like he reaches out, like there's some kind of like safeguard.
Yeah.
But the control freak in me cannot, like I am not at a point right now where I can do that. I couldn't, like, and I need to work on that, and I am working on that. I mean, that's one of the reasons why I started therapy, because it's a huge point of contention in my relationship, because I so badly need and want a break, and he wants to give that to me, and I cannot take it. And so then I get resentful that he is able to get a break. Like, he can go to work and detach. He can go to sleep at night and detach. And my husband is so incredibly helpful, capable, supportive. He'll do anything I ask him to do. If I say, hey, it's 2 a.m., can you get up and poke Wells' finger? He'll do it. No questions asked. Like, hey, can you do this or that? Can I leave the house for 2 hours and you handle diabetes? His answer would be yes. It is not a him problem. It's a me problem. But then I still get resentful because I'm like, oh, how nice it must be for you to be able to turn your brain off of diabetes.
Yeah.
Even though I'm the one doing it to myself, but I can't help it.
Yeah. I'm right there with you.
So then the resentment comes in, and then it's like I'm stuck in this place of like, I really want and need a break. I feel like I can't take one, but my spouse can, and that must be nice. And now I'm pissed off at you.
Must be nice.
It must be nice. When like in reality, I could like need to work on having that too, and he would love to give that to me, and I'm sure Tyler feels the same way about you.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, I could have said all of those words the same way you said them. Like you took them right out of my mouth.
Yeah. Do you feel like Tyler has had to go through emotions similar to you in processing Paxton's diagnosis?
I think so. I think he's processing obviously the main emotions of like, yeah, my son has type 1 diabetes. Like, this is going to be something that he has forever. But I think his like worries and anxiety around diabetes are not the same worries and anxieties I have. Like, my anxieties are very like day to day for the most part. Like, can I keep him stable today? Like, what, last night was bad. What can I do to make that better? Whereas like he is much more concerned about, let's say, like long-term stuff. Like, what do I need to do to make sure that my kid never has to worry about affording insulin?
Mm-hmm.
Like, what
I've heard
him
mention that before to me.
That's a very prevalent thought in his head, and I appreciate him for that. Like, we are very much like, we never want, as long as we are alive, we don't want Paxton to have to worry about paying for his medications.
Totally valid fear.
So I think just with that being said, like, we kind of all have to process things our own way, and there are very different things that we are both concerned about, but our main concern is obviously making sure that Pax's well-being is the best that it can be.
Yeah.
And we do our best to work together on that, but sometimes it doesn't always match up.
Yeah. Wesley has certainly had to process Wells' diabetes. It's just been in different things than me and in a different way than me. And yeah, I mean, everybody processes their grief in a different way. Do you feel like diabetes has changed intimacy for you?
I feel like it's definitely a huge factor that is unavoidable,
Mm-hmm.
obviously, and maybe not for the reasons that people may think. Like, honestly, half the time it's so hard for me to check out of that
Yeah.
role of being a pancreas, or, you know, whether it be like, hey, I've been up the past 3 nights treating lows or treating highs and I just haven't gotten any sleep. Like, no, don't actually come anywhere near me.
Yeah. That's literally like word for word what I would say too. First of all, it is very hard for me to completely detach when the constant thought in the back of my head is, what's Wells' blood sugar? Is he going to go low during this? Is he going to go high during this? Like, and is this going to get interrupted? Or like almost anticipating that it probably will.
Yeah.
And then also, if I'm already burnt out by the end of the day, which I almost always am from diabetes, and like just the mental load of making decisions all day long, and like it's exhausting. Like, I truly end every day exhausted.
I agree.
And so then I'm like, no, I'm good.
I'm
like,
fine.
I'm actually great.
Move along.
I'm gonna go to bed now. So it's definitely changed it for us. I would answer like 100% confidence. It has certainly changed that, which I think that's been hard for Wes too, to be completely honest. Like, it's changed that part of our relationship in a way, and so it's tough. It just affects so many things.
Yeah. And it takes it to a whole new level, obviously. Like, you know, everyone says that intimacy changes after kids, and that's absolutely true. But then you add this whole new layer, and it's not like a little layer. It's like something to some degree all consuming.
Yeah.
And
100%.
you're just like the general public just expects you to not let it affect you, I guess. I don't know. Like,
I think they just don't know
yeah.
how much it truly can affect your day-to-day life.
Yeah.
Oh, how about grandparents? Do you feel like your parents and Tyler's parents have had their relationship with either you guys or the kids shift because of diabetes?
I think it's hard to say. I guess we can start with my parents, who, for reference, are local. They live 5 minutes down the road.
Mm-hmm.
And also, my mother is a nurse.
Ah.
So, working in the healthcare field, obviously, I think my mom was very adamant on making sure that she could still keep, like, her grandparent to grandchild relationship as normal as possible.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, she does take him for weekends. She knows how to dose him. She knows what he can have, what he can't have. She knows generally how much to treat a low with in the middle of the night. So, like, I appreciated the fact of how much she threw herself into it.
Yeah.
But I think chalk it up to the fact that she isn't the one that has to deal with his diabetes day in and day out. I think there's a lot of anxiety surrounding the fact that when she does have him in her care, she's so constantly worried that she's going to do something wrong.
Yeah.
And I am constantly on the other end of the phone. Like, if you ever have any questions, like, don't hesitate to call me. Like, I understand she's doing it so that way I can attempt to have a break. I can attempt to detach.
Yeah.
But I'd almost rather know what was going on if something wasn't going the way she wanted it to go. And she is also, sorry, Mom, shout out, you're really bad at holding yourself accountable for bad blood sugars. When it's really not your fault. Like, I will literally drop packs off at her house and I'll be like, hey, he's had a really rough blood sugar day. Like, I'm having issues nailing down his new carb ratios, or like he needs a basal rate change. Like, it's a work in progress. Like, don't take it personally. Like, it's not your fault. And, you know, the first time he spikes, she'll text me and she'll be like, well, I guess I suck at this. I'm like, Mom, calm down. Like,
well, I guess I'm just the worst.
This is literally my life, first of all. Welcome to my brain. I also think that multiple times a day.
Yeah. Twinning. Oh my gosh.
So I think for like someone who is so heavily involved in his care, whereas if you look at my husband's family, who lives 12 plus hours away, they still live in me and Tyler's hometown. So we only see them 2 to 3 times a year. And, you know, there are parts of his family that have shown a lot of interest in wanting to learn how to manage it to the best of their ability. And I'm very appreciative of that. Yeah. But comparing apples to oranges, they don't have as much time around him. Mm-hmm. Therefore, they don't have as many chances to learn and experience. as like my parents do. So
Yeah.
I think like to some degree, I think grandparents kind of mourn the relationship that they could have had with a quote unquote normal grandchild.
It definitely adds a layer of difficulty to like figure out. My mom right now is in the thick of caretaking herself for my grandmother who has dementia and actually lives with them. And she's like at the end stages of this disease. And so she's completely dependent on my mom, who also still works a full-time job, and they have care that comes in for my grandmother while my mom works her full-time job, and then she comes right back home and takes care of my grandmother like at night and weekends. And so she is very much going through, honestly, like very similar emotions and things that we are as type 1 diabetes caregivers, because it's just all consuming, and this person is like completely depending on my mom to take full care of her. But she sounds very similar to your mom and like really, really wanting to understand and do the best job possible. She takes it very personally. Like anytime she's ever babysat Wells, you know, things go wrong. Or like one time Wesley and I went on a date night. I think it was probably for our anniversary or something. And Wells was low like the whole time we were gone. Like he just kept going low. And she totally blamed herself. I'm like, what do you mean? Like you were doing exactly what I told you to do the whole time. It would have gone the same way if I was there, but she definitely does the same thing of like, whoop, I guess I suck at this. Like, this is my fault.
I just quit.
She kept saying after that specific instance, like, I want to do better. And I'm like, you didn't do anything. Like,
you didn't do anything wrong.
This is just diabetes.
It's just life.
It definitely has shifted. Like, it's not just easy for grandparents to say, hey, I'm coming to pick up the grandkids for the weekend. Like there is a whole nother layer now of, oh, well, we have to think about this. And like, can I properly care for them while they're in my care? Like, do I have, like, no offense, but like, do I have the stamina to do this? If alarms are going off all night long, do I have the ability to wake up for every single alarm? Will I know what to do in those moments? Can I wake up enough to, you know, contact us or whatever if needed? Like, that's a lot to think about and consider. And the answer might be, no, I can't do that.
Yeah. And I think being able to recognize that is truly so important.
Yeah. But it definitely means like there's a possibility that the relationship dynamic has to shift a little bit to like, okay, well, what am I capable of? Like, what can I learn about type 1 diabetes, and how can I apply that to my relationship with my grandchild?
Mm-hmm. All right. So moving past, obviously, grandparents, I believe this past fall was Wells' first season of baseball, correct?
Yes. He played t-ball for the first time.
Okay. So after finishing and wrapping up a whole season of baseball for the first time, how do you think that went?
It was definitely interesting. Both of my other older boys have played baseball. My 10-year-old still plays baseball, and then like all my kids are involved in sports. And it is such a heavier dynamic going into sports with a type 1 diabetic. There is definitely a like different relationship I think you have to have with the coaches involved.
Yes. For
sure. Thankfully, like when Wells showed up for his very first day of t-ball, I was telling his coach, like, hey, he's a type 1 diabetic. He wears a pump on his body and a Dexcom. You may hear him beeping at some point. It's, you know, his phone or his insulin pump. But I'm watching from the sidelines and, like, you don't need to do anything. I'll intervene as needed. Like, I'll always be here to, like, make decisions or whatever. And she was like, oh, my gosh, no way. I'm a diabetic, too. And she lifted up her sleeve and had a Dexcom on. And it just, like, made Wells whole life. He was so excited and happy. So we had a really good first season experience, but definitely like prepping to go into sports and stuff, like practices and games looked very different for him than it did my other kids, or like it does my other kids. And one thing that really surprised me is that Wells goes high with activity. So that was definitely something we were like navigating and learning how to handle with his first season. And he's going to play again this season. So it'll be a continuation of trying to figure that out.
Yeah, you'll have lots of practice.
Yeah,
lots
can't
of practice.
Wait. I'm so excited.
I'm pretty sure that Paxton, like, he was diagnosed before he even started playing sports. So all we've known is sports with diabetes. But I don't think that's really helped any.
Yeah.
Paxton has tried like so many. We've done soccer. He's still currently doing soccer. We've done baseball. We've done basketball.
Y'all do all the things.
We really do all the things. We're a very athletic family.
Janelle also coaches soccer, by the way.
I am also one of Paxton's coaches. Let me slide that in there.
Let's toss that little tidbit in there.
That was definitely a thought process that happened prior to me accepting the job as a coach. I was like, ooh, let me slide onto that field and be there with him while we're kind of navigating this higher level, you know what I mean, competitive soccer training program that he's in. So that has been a blessing to be able to be out on the field during his practices, because with our club, at least, parents are not allowed on the field during practice. We have a big field complex and they are required to sit outside the fence the entire time. They are not allowed on the field. So that's kind of like my cheat hack there. But it's been a blessing. I mean, it's Paxton's blood sugar is so unpredictable when it comes to sports. We have just recently, this past soccer season, kind of figured out what works best for Paxton, and it is keeping as little insulin on board prior to practice or games as possible. So that for us looks like feeding him a smaller low carb meal before practice or games, and then afterwards is when he gets to carb load, because he will kind of rise a little bit with activity. And then as soon as he's done, about 20 to 30 minutes later, he will plummet. So we've learned to kind of catch that low, or be anticipatory at least, where if he's rising during practice, I'm not correcting nearly as much as I normally would if he didn't have all of that activity going on at the same time.
You know it's coming for you.
Yeah, and that's been a learning process, but also like we want to compare, go back to siblings, like how easy it is to bring non-diabetic siblings to sports and just be able to sit there.
You just sit them out on the field.
Yeah, and you just live.
Yeah. Definitely changes the relationship with sports and activity and stuff. And I imagine like neither of our kids are in public school right now. Wells will start kindergarten in the fall, and Janelle homeschools.
We just at home. We don't anywhere else.
They only stool at home.
Homeschoolers, they're the worst.
Oh God. So neither of us like currently have experience with like PE and gym at school or recess or anything like that, but my day is coming in the fall. But like it changes all of these things. It changes like not just relationships, but it just affects every single thing in life. Like your ability to just send your kid out to play a soccer game, on a random Saturday morning. There's so much effort and thought that has to go into before, during, after. And same thing with going to school, and same thing with going to grandparents' houses, and same thing with going to PE at school, or going to recess at school, or going into lunchtime at school. Like there's so much thought and energy and time that has to go into literally everything.
Yeah, I think it's really easy to not look at all of these kind of outside factors as like additional chores or additional like mental load. Like I would love nothing more than to pull up to my kid's soccer game and sit down and truly enjoy watching him play. And don't get me wrong, like I love watching him play, but a part of me is always focused on, well, what's going to happen with his blood sugar?
Yeah, definitely. I think like the grand takeaway too is that diabetes doesn't just change one life. Like it does not just change the person who's diagnosed. It doesn't just change their life. It reshapes, like truly reshapes many lives and many relationships. It has changed our lives as moms. It has reshaped relationships with grandparents, reshaped relationships with sports, and just like truly is such a broad, like there's many branches. You think of it and there's just so many. It's so multifaceted.
It really is. It really is. It's not as shallow as people think it is.
Yeah, as like the general public thinks it is. Like, oh, you have type 1 diabetes. Like, I hate that for you. But then there's just this whole kind of like cloud around you of other things and relationships and people that are impacted too.
Yeah, it's like a domino effect.
Yeah.
I think it's important to understand that people experiencing this lifestyle need validation most of the time and not solutions. So siblings, like they need to be allowed to need and want extra attention.
Yeah.
And for like a reminder for the grandparents that are heavily involved in a world with type 1 diabetes, that your effort is so much greater than perfection. Like we love nothing more than your effort and want and desire to learn and adapt and kind of help to relieve some of that burden from the parents.
Yeah, absolutely. I think like, and the kids will see that too one day. Like they will see grandparents that tried really hard to step into like their world in a way and understand as much as they possibly could for them. And I think that's really important and really powerful for, you know, for our kids to be able to see that.
Yeah.
And experience that. They deserve to. And also for the partners, I think just remembering too that like supporting your spouse going through this doesn't always have to look like creating solutions. It can be quiet support and just like being there for them. Like, you know, they're not going to give up the control to go give themselves a break, but just making sure that you're being there kind of in the quiet moments and supporting them through something that's honestly so difficult. But again, kind of going back to the effort over perfection comment that you made with grandparents, like it doesn't have to be like you fixing everything. Like I don't need Wes to fix everything for me. I don't need him to come up with every solution. I just need him to be there for me. And he is, and I'm really thankful for that. But I think that's, you know, something for partners to really keep in mind. What about the outside world? I'm sure like nobody really from the outside world is like super listening to this, but I'm just curious what you would say.
I think showing like consistency with their support.
Mm-hmm.
Like don't kind of, you know, waffle back and forth and, you know, sometimes we'll be supportive and sometimes, you know, no, you don't need us to be supportive. Like honestly,
or
like,
we'll judge.
Yes, seriously. I think support from the outside world of people that really don't have any semblance of what it is like living with type 1 diabetes. I feel like sometimes that support means so much more than you think it would.
Yeah, absolutely. It goes further because you know they're not obligated.
Yeah, so it feels nice when they do.
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree.
T1D doesn't just belong to the person with the diagnosis. It belongs to the late night responders, the siblings who adapt, the partners who learn, the family who keeps showing up. If today's episode made you think of your own family or someone else navigating this, go ahead and share it with them. The more we talk about the ripple effects of T1D, the less invisible they become.